Hi, and thanks for joining us here today at the table. With me is Rachel, Fiona and Melody. Hi, ladies.
Hello.
Good to be with you.
You too.
Well, coming up in today's show, we're going to be talking to Michelle Derrick. Now, she's the author of a renowned children's book that talks about aiming to get rid of sexual abuse in children. We're going to be talking about junk food in your lunchbox. Should we be banning that in schools altogether? Gender disappointment we're going to be chatting about, but something first that is very near but not dear to me is sleep deprivation. We all know that a severe lack of sleep can affect us negatively. Weight gain, high blood pressure, poor concentration and heart disease. Newsweek.com produced an article recently reporting on the effects of sleep deprivation, but this time their focus was on the difference between men and women. They mentioned a Swedish study that recruited 12 males and females, 12 each, some who got good sleep and others who had to pull an all-nighter. They then did a short-term memory test the next day with numbers, and there was a difference in the response between males and females. Did you even think that was possible?
It was, yeah. That was
Did it
what was
surprise
interesting,
you?
that the male and female part was that there's a difference, that the males, it didn't really affect them. Yeah, but for the females, they actually were affected. But then the other thing that was interesting was that they didn't know that they were affected.
Yeah, the women didn't know they were affected. I found that really surprising. That one shocked me more than anything. And I know 24 is not a great sample of people, granted, but that surprised me the most because I always feel like I function better on little sleep than my husband.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
So if you oversleep, it's not good for you, Rach? Is that how you find it?
No,
or?
I live on undersleeping.
Yeah.
Like for years and years, our kids have woken up a lot.
as a mum,
But
yeah.
yeah, I've always had to sort of, function more than he does. I mean, he goes to work, don't get me wrong there, but yeah, I seem to cope better.
Well, maybe it's with all the other life stuff, but the memory itself is the one that's affected. So maybe just dealing with normal life stuff you're able to cope with.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but the memory that...
Yeah, my memory's always shot, so I don't know. Yeah.
Do you get a lot of sleep?
Not at all, and I haven't since I was a kid, so I have nothing to compare it to.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So having a baby didn't change that in any way? Did you
Definitely changed it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think...
have like, whoa, we're on different
No,
lengths.
but I
here.
don't think I've ever gotten a lot of sleep. I've always been up doing a project or studying or doing something. So I think my memory, I can definitely say that I don't have a very good memory
what's
at
an average night's sleep? Like how many hours?
all. Nowadays, I would say it's probably 5.
Right,
Maybe.
because they say we need around 7, hey?
Yeah, definitely
Yeah.
not hitting 7.
What about you?
Look, I can't even remember what we're talking about. What's the topic again?
You have other reasons, though.
It's baby brain.
You've got baby
I'm
brain
walking
at the
around like a
moment.
zombie anyway. So what's the topic? No, seriously. No, but I did do some research and I found out that it also, sleep deprivation can lead to dementia, creating proteins in your brain that leads to dementia and also Alzheimer's. So we definitely need to get our sleep. But I mean, as a mum, I struggle.
So hard.
Yeah.
It's actually funny because when I read the article, I thought, oh, well, actually, yeah, I didn't have enough sleep, but I think I was fine. Like, I didn't suffer from baby brain. I thought I didn't suffer. Then, the report says that you didn't know, that you won't know that you're actually suffering, so maybe I just forgot
Yeah, maybe we're not realising it. Well, I have a little activity. Now, I'm not going to go to you, Fiona. You've got baby brain, so we don't want to,
I don't
discredit
think it
anything
even
here.
returned after the twins. It just got worse and worse.
But, Rach, I'm going to pick on you today.
Oh, no.
So, see this pretty little thing here? I'm going to get you to put this over your eyes.
Yep.
I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. We're going to test your memory today.
the worst
So you don't have to
thing
put
to
it over
do.
your head, if you don't want, just over your eyes so you can't see. But I'm going to ask you a couple
Don't
of
put
questions.
it over my head. Just-
The poor girl, as long as you can't see.
I'll fall asleep while I put this on.
We might lose her in the process. Okay. Got a couple of questions for you. Did you notice anyone between us here on the panel today wearing a watch? And if so, who?
Oh, my goodness. Well, I didn't notice anyone, but Melody seems like the most responsible out of all of us. So I think it would be her.
Oh, I like it, Melody.
Do you have
no
one on?
watch? No,
Darn.
that's one fail. Okay, what colour is our resident rhino that sits on the shelf behind you?
Orange.
Oh, nice. Okay, and last one, am I wearing any jewellery today?
I don't know. I didn't remember that one.
No, I don't think I am wearing any jewellery. Don't you? Wedding ring, that's it. Okay, well, we're going to hand you over to Mandy now. She's going to make an ice pack, so check this out.
We've all been there when we've injured ourselves at home, we've gone to the freezer and there are just no frozen bags of peas in there. So I'm going to show you how to make your own very simple DIY reusable ice packs at home using 2 ingredients. You will need for this a couple of Ziploc freezer bags. You need good quality strong ones. You'll need some rubbing alcohol or isopropyl alcohol, and you will need some water. So all we're going to do, open one of our Ziploc bags, and I'm going to pour 2 cups of water into my bag. Then I'm going to add 1 cup of my rubbing alcohol. And then very carefully, I'm going to squeeze out as much air as I possibly can from my bag before I seal it. And once you've got out as much air as you can from the first bag, I'm going to pop it in a second bag. So this is purely to prevent any leaks. And I'm just going to do the same thing with my second bag and try and squeeze out as much air as I can. Now, if you're using clear bags and you want it to look like a professional ice pack, you can simply add some blue food colouring to your mixture if you wish. So now this just needs to be popped in the freezer for a couple of hours and you will get a nice gel ice pack. There we go, my ice pack has been in the freezer for a couple of hours now, so I have this nice cold gel, which is perfect for injuries. I love to keep a couple of these in the freezer just in case. I hope you like this super simple DIY hack. Let us know on our Facebook page at The Table TV Show if you try this and what you think about it. We'd love to hear from you.
You know, Mandy is so prepared all the time. I wish she was my next door neighbor.
Yes, she would be very handy, wouldn't she? Gender reveal parties are very much in vogue, but there are still a few diehards who like to keep the gender of that growing baby a surprise. Unfortunately, this seems to invite unwanted and often thoughtless comments to come out of the woodwork from family, friends, and those lovable, opinionated strangers you'll never see again. Colleen Thomas wrote about her experience in Essential Baby, and she titled her article, Having a Girl Didn't Complete Me. So she had 3 boys and then had a girl and wrote this article. But do you think boys, mums and parents of boys get a bad rap sometimes though?
Parents of boys?
Parents of all boys.
I think parents of all girls also get a bad rap as well. Like, I always get, I bet you're trying for another boy.
Do you get that comment a lot?
I get that comment and I think, no, actually, we're not trying for anything. It's a surprise every time we get pregnant. But I think people do feel the need to pass their judgment on whatever sex you're having.
Yeah, it's amazing how confident people feel to comment, hey?
Yeah. I think it's because of what they're feeling. Like, I have a friend who insists that he has to have a boy. And I said, well, what if you don't have a boy? Like, how are you going to react towards your daughters?
It's not like you get a choice in it.
No, but I mean, I think he's so insistent that he has to have one. So maybe they put all of that onto other people.
It's interesting because people seem to have this feeling that, you have to have a boy and a girl, 2 genders, and then your family will be complete. But really?
Melody, did you specifically want a boy or a girl though?
No, I just wanted a baby.
Yeah, okay.
There was actually a really funny line in that article that I read that made me laugh a lot. It's like, I'll be disappointed if it was a lizard, not if it was a boy.
Yeah, fair enough.
I mean, I'm going to rep the people who actually wanted a specific gender. I actually wanted a boy. And when we opened and did the reveal, I was hoping for boy. And I saw it before Pete. And I was very ecstatic. But now that we've had a boy, if we do decide to have another baby, I would like to have a girl.
Yeah.
And that's just, of course you want a healthy baby, but I'm not going to say that I didn't have any preference.
I know people who have struggled to conceive and, they've gone down the IVF and all that kind of thing. So having a child anyway, this day and age, I think is a huge blessing. In fact, in the Bible, we're reminded that children are a reward, they're heritage from God. And that, for me, just puts it in perspective. We're thankful we even have children.
That's
the
right.
amount of toxins that I used to put in my body back in the day, pre-kids, mate, I'm glad I got some good eggs. So we're thankful, always just thankful.
Just thinking from a financial point of view, it'd be good if you actually have kids of the same gender, then you can pass down the clothes.
That's right. I have all girls. It's financially very helpful. My sister actually has all boys and she was out shopping and her youngest was in the pram and a lady said to her, oh, is that a boy in there? And she said, yeah, I've got 3 boys. She goes, oh, I'm lucky. I've got one of each. I know. I'm just like, oh... I'm sorry.
But then you get the people that also have had just one gender as well. Like, I've had a receptionist say to me, I've got all boys and it's the best. Oh, you poor thing, you've got all girls. And I think, whatever suits you, whatever.
I was going to say, it depends what you're going into this with. Your mindset sort of has to be open because you actually don't have a say in it. So you sort of need to open yourself up. But I don't think people should feel shame about being disappointed if they didn't get what they wanted. We all want stuff. There's no shame in that.
But I was just going to say something that Rachel will be very happy with. In a way, I was happy that I got a boy because then I'm thinking that, you know, as a boy, he's not going to get the discrimination that women get. That's the only
What
reason.
discrimination in terms of what?
When they
gender?
grow up,
Yeah,
equal
when they grow up,
opportunity.
yeah.
Well, there you go.
But
That's an interesting thought.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to move on to canteen junk food and should it be banned? Where do you stand on junk food in your kid's lunchbox? Essential Kids shared a story a little while back in the UK of a primary school banning unhealthy foods from their lunchboxes. Parents were told no chocolates, no sweets, no sausage rolls or fizzy drinks and no flavoured water. However, kids could still purchase fish and chips and cakes from the school canteen. Now, Mum Bernadette Finnegan complained and she was consequently temporarily banned from the school grounds just for her complaint. But are we going too far by saying ban all junk food from those lunchboxes?
I think so, and I think it goes too far when you start telling parents what they can and cannot do. I think an alternative would be educating the parents as to, you know, juices are not healthy, or too much juice is not healthy, things like that, rather than saying you can't put this, you can't put that. You need to educate parents.
But isn't banning a form of education? That's a bad thing, so you can't bring it. So.
Good question.
Imagine a kid in the classroom when they're going to be reprimanded. They're going to say, put that back in the lunchbox.
I'll
All the
sneak
kids
it.
are going to look. You said you'd sneak it.
I'd be the kid that would sneak.
Oh, I thought you were saying as a parent, you'd sneak
and
it in
I'd be
there.
selling it to the other kids. Like, do you want some chocolate? Do you want some chips?
I like
got
it.
some. Yeah.
So do you think that sort of sets them up for an unhealthy relationship with food by banning it completely, though?
I think so. That's my personal opinion. I don't think you should ban anything. I think you should, like education. I think it's important. And
mean ban
provide
anything like a
alternatives.
food?
Provide alternatives. Instead of chocolate, maybe have, I don't know, cacao fruit balls or something like that.
But what if the parent puts it in there, so there's no alternative. The parent has decided that that's what goes in their kids'
Yeah,
lunchbox.
true, but I think we should also be looking at educating the parents as well as the children.
Okay,
I think
Taking a holistic approach.
As a parent, when I read this, I just wanted to homeschool my kid because
Really?
I hate being told what to do. And I would hate sending my child to school and then feeling like I, as a parent, am going back to school again and being told what I can and can't put in my child's lunchbox when I'm the one paying for it. I'm the one waking up in the morning packing their lunch.
And since when did the teacher become a nutritionist?
Well, hang on. I don't think that's necessarily fair because you've got the government who are putting out messages all the time saying, let's all be the village. We've got to get on this bandwagon of targeting our health system, obesity, diabetes in kids. So what are schools supposed to do?
Educate.
I can see.
Besides cleaning out their canteen.
I can see where the teacher's coming from though, because my sister-in-law actually taught in schools in the UK for a while, and every morning, this is for breakfast, the kids will come with a chocolate bar and a can of Coke.
But parents
Yeah.
don't know any better. That's why I think it's
Which is
important
what-
to do the holistic
but-
approach. Teach the parent, teach the child.
But
I
then
agree
when
with
you're
you.
banning it,
I think it's about education.
Putting in the newsletter little hints like, Milo is full of sugar. Things like that. People think it's an energy food. It's full of sugar.
potentially
Yeah.
they may not be taking the
We need
hint.
to be more honest maybe on the ingredients on the front of packet. But if you are looking for ways to dodge some of those junk foods in your family's diet, we've actually got a great little recipe book for you. It's called Nourish and it's absolutely free. Just send us your name, your postal address and the name of this week's giveaway book, Nourishing. All you need to do is email us at hello@thetabletv.com or give us a call in Australia on 1300 300 389. And if you're in New Zealand, 0800 694 673. Don't forget that is free and don't call us right now. Wait till the end of the show to give us a buzz. We're going to take you now to Gia and Olive. They're in the kitchen getting ready to cook some healthy snack ideas. Check this out.
Hi, my name's Olive. This is Auntie Shana. She's our special guest.
She is our special guest. That's good. And we're going to make homemade potato chips. When you eat these, you're never going to go back to those crazy packets with all the crazy bad stuff in it. They've got like anti-caking agents and preservatives and full of oil. These are oil-free, fat-free potato chips, homemade. And Shona, you're going to make them.
Right.
Shona just actually popped in today and she was down the road and she's going to be on the show with us, which is
I'm going
good.
to do oil-free, fat-free chips.
Yes, and you're going to start.
Okay.
It's very simple because this is Shona-proof, so you're not going to hurt yourself. So you just want to make thin slices of potato, okay? So a mandolin's the best thing to have because you make them all the same size and you don't have to waste time. Okay?
Not that hard.
Nah, easy, done. Okay, Shona, they're too thin, but that's okay, we can work with it. You've got to push harder. That's it. Push harder. That's it. Okay, done. They should be enough. All right, so this is what our potato chips look like. You can almost see through them, not quite, but you want it to be thin. And you just put them on baking paper because we're going to microwave them. So you just put them on baking paper.
No, in the oven?
No, not in the oven. In 3 minutes, they're done, pretty much.
3 minutes?
Yep.
This would be great for after-school snacks.
Oh, you know what? Even during school, like you could send it with the kids. Oh, let me do some too, because I'm going to make them thicker. Because you're just not as strong as I am.
Oh, I've been busy this week.
So they can't touch each other when they're on the baking paper, just on a plate. Baking paper. Now, you can put anything you want on these. I like to put a bit of onion powder. Come along.
Yep.
Don't run away from me.
Oh, look,
Bit of salt. Can you put some salt? Italian herbs? Yeah, put some Italian herbs. This is some onion powder.
Italian herbs on there?
A little bit.
Oh, now this
no. Okay, yeah, I knew that was going to happen, Shona.
Sorry. This is my favourite, pink salt. I
Okay,
love
there you go.
pink salt.
Some pink salt all over them, Shona.
All over?
Yeah.
Okay. Over the hands.
Okay.
We're having great fun here.
Okay, that's enough.
Work.
Okay, so every microwave's different. My microwave, in 3 minutes and 20 seconds, they're done. But you don't want to overburn them, so you're going to test your microwave and you're going to do it maybe 2-minute intervals. So just do 2 minutes first, check them. We'll bring them out and show you. I'll do 3 minutes to start. And you are going to be our taste tester.
Yay. We're fine. We're going to try them? We're going to try them? Yeah? Cool.
So the chips have been in there for 3 minutes and 10 seconds and they smell awesome.
They do. They smell really good.
And I'm going to get Shona and Olive to try them. Now, hold on, before they do, I want to show you what they look like. Ooh, watch your microwave doesn't burn them, okay? So you don't want them to be burnt, but these is what they look like. The garlic's sort of got colour in there, and they are crispy.
Crispy. Did you hear that? They went crunch.
Okay, do you want to try it? All right, let's go.
You ready? They are good.
I told you. And you know what? If you like salt and vinegar chips, all you need is one of those little spray containers and put a little bit of vinegar. Spray the chips, put a bit of salt. You can make any flavour you like. You can make them cheesy with using, what have I got here? Nutritional yeast flakes. You can do so much with them. Put them in the kids' lunchbox. You don't feel bad. There's nothing in them. It's just pure potato. And you can use sweet potato if you like. How good is that?
They are awesome.
I know. Better than the
Love
packets.
it. Yeah.
No oil, no bad stuff.
Nice.
Would you be trying these? Will you give them to your husband, Shona? You like them, eh? So at night, if you're watching a movie, they're just so quick to make. And then everyone's got done. Yeah? High five.
High five. Too many high fives today.
Well, our guest today is author and stay-at-home mum to 4 young children aged between 3 and 12 years old. Her book, Only for Me, aims to empower and protect young children from sexual abuse. With 90% of victims being abused by someone known to them, it's critical to not only protect our kids, but to equip them with appropriate self-awareness and decision-making skills. Michelle, Derek, thanks so much for joining us here at the table today. It's such a hugely important topic that's sort of in a lot of parents' minds.
Sure.
But what actually inspired you to write this book?
Okay, so it was about 4 years ago now, and I was just going out for dinner with a couple of mums, so it was just your typical night out. And on this night, I heard 2 stories that were shared, and in both cases, the mums talked about their children who were in primary school. In one case, the little boy was 7, and in the other case, 9 years old. And in both cases, the children had actually been abused by children their own age, so by their peers.
In the school?
Not in the school environment, no. So, you know, I was so shocked when I heard these stories. And the things that shocked me most was that they actually occurred at parks. So the parents were having play dates at the park. And so, you know, I just thought, wow, this can actually happen when I'm supervising my kids. In one case, you know, it was while the kids were on the play equipment, and in the other case, it was they'd actually sent the 9-year-olds to the toilets together, thinking that was the safer option because they had other little ones to look after.
That is just crazy because, you know, a lot of time when you think about child abuse, you think it's an adult, you know, doing wrong by the child.
Absolutely.
This is peer on peer we're talking about.
Do you
That's
think
correct.
the kids are experimenting, or do you just think there's something that's not right?
Okay, so unfortunately, it's very common. So if a child is actually being abused, that they will reenact what's being done to them. And in one of the cases, we know that the reason the little boy was acting out was because he'd actually been accessing pornography on his iPad at 7 and found the parents had discovered that a few months prior. So that was the reason in that first case. And in the second case, it wasn't actually confirmed for me, but with the details I was given, I think it's pretty safe to assume that that little boy was actually a victim of abuse himself, and he was simply just reenacting what had been done to him.
Wow.
So, yeah.
So how
it's really
early
shocking.
should we be starting to have these conversations with our children?
Really, it's as early as possible. So, 2, 3 years of age, it sounds early, but as soon as they can start to understand the concepts, we need to start talking to them about it.
And it's such a big concept. It's so almost frightening for parents to approach the topic with their kids. How did you cover it in the book?
Okay, so I really wanted to produce a resource when I, got home from having had this dinner. I thought, how am I going to talk to my own kids about it? And I started researching what sort of information you needed to tell them. I didn't know how much was too much. And I thought, I want to be able to empower my kids, but I want to do so in a way that's really gentle and dignified, and I want to still protect their innocence. And so that was really important to me. And so one of the techniques that I used was using rhyme, so that the book is completely in rhyme. And also we very gently lead into the subject matter. So the first 4 or 5 pages actually talk about different body parts, which, the kids are really engaged by.
It's the only for me, right, the book.
That's right.
For me.
Only for me, yeah. So we talk about different body parts, and then we get to our bottom and bits that they're very private and only for me. And we of course, use correct anatomical terms because that's really important when you're having protective behaviour conversations with your kids. And I just think, I was then very blessed to have the work of Nicole McKenzie, who is an illustrator, but she's also a former Disney animator. And she just happened to be a mum at my kids' school. So that was, fantastic that I was able to utilise her. And, I really think that all contributed to creating that sense of still protecting their innocence when you're talking about such a hardcore subject, really.
So did you have to consult with some experts on when you produced this book?
Sure, absolutely. So, I had lots of ideas as to how I wanted to go about it and what I wanted to put in, but because I didn't have a background in child protection, it was absolutely essential that, I made sure that it complied with, recommendations, professional recommendations. So I was actually very lucky to work with a lady which I believe you're familiar with, Dr. Patricia Wiraku.
Oh, we love her.
Great.
She's been a guest on the show.
Yes.
Yeah, fantastic. And Patricia was amazing. She really pushed me to the next level. She critiqued it quite hard, but she made me just step it up a notch each time. And I was also lucky enough to have the endorsement of Act for Kids, which is not quite so well known, but they're actually one of Australia's longest established and leading child protection agencies in Australia. And so I worked with them, and they were just able to confirm that I was on the right track and just assure that I was, presenting the information in the correct way.
What sort of response, sorry Rach, are you getting from parents?
Okay, so the book's been out for 18 months now, and I've sold about 3,500 copies. So It's been an amazing response and an amazing journey. I've had some, really fantastic feedback just about how much they, are finding, how useful they're finding the book. I've had all sorts of feedback. I've even had a response from His Holiness Pope Francis and the Duchess of Cambridge, which are all really exciting. But despite those types of feedback, the ones that are most profound were the ones where they actually told me about how the book had actually helped their child specifically. Yes. So in one case, I'd actually set the book off just only 24 hours before, and they'd sat down and read the book straight away, and they weren't actually even finished when they got to the page about secrets, and the little boy actually disclosed to his mum what had been happening to him.
Wow.
Yeah. So when I got this email, it was such a bittersweet moment. I was so devastated for the little boy and what he was going through, but at the same time, it was just such a confirmation that, that my book was able to help other children. And then just recently in my own group of family and friends, it was a couple of months ago, a little boy was on the way home from swimming lessons, and he said to his mum, "Mum, there's a naughty boy at swimming lessons." And he then went on to tell his mum that the little boy had actually been doing doing what Only For Me says you shouldn't do.
Right.
Which, you know, again, really was so lovely to hear that it was because he had actually read it that he recognised straight away that he needed to tell his mum what was going on in the pool.
It's a really powerful book. Like, you're giving language to kids to be able to express their situation. One of the things you mentioned was about protecting kids' innocence with this topic. So how are you able to bring the topic up while still protecting their innocence?
Yeah, well, I think it's just about the way that you go about it. So you want to use age-appropriate language for a start. So, you know, yes, in this day and age, we need to empower our kids and teach them that, you know, pornography is not acceptable, because often a predator will actually, you know, utilise that as part of the grooming process. But we don't actually need to talk about pornography with our kids. What we need to say to them is it's not okay for someone to show you images on any sort of device or screen. So, you know, it's just putting it in really simple, everyday language for them. And, you know, and I think using a resource, whether it's my book or another book, you know, that can help you have those conversations with your children.
That's what's so good about your book is you've actually, it's a rhyme. So that it's easy, I guess, for children and parents to speak to their kids about it, and it's user-friendly, I guess, for the child and for the parent.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm wanting to grab a copy of the book and read it to my son this afternoon.
Yeah, well, where can people sort of get a copy of this book? I'm just going to hold it up so people can actually see that. So it's Only For Me, but where can people actually get a copy of that?
Okay, so they can get that from my website, which is onlyforme.com.au.
No worries.
And it's $15.95, and that includes delivery Australia-wide. I can, of course, ship internationally if necessary. And I actually donate 100% of my author royalties back to Act for Kids and Brave Hearts to help them continue the amazing work that they do.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So what are some practical tips for parents, and where can they sort of go to if they've got a concern about their child?
Okay, so in terms of the practical tips, I sort of say if you're going to sit down and speak to your children about protective behaviours, the first thing that you need to do is actually make sure they understand what their private parts are, and again, using correct anatomical terms. You need to then go through various...
So you name them. You say, this is your vagina,
Correct.
this is your penis. You don't make nicknames.
That's right, correct, because otherwise it can get lost in translation if they've got funny names for them and then they go and tell someone, particularly like a preschool teacher, you know, they won't necessarily know what they're talking about. So, yeah, so that's really important.
Use the correct names.
Use the correct names, yeah. And then you want, you know, to provide your child with different scenarios and actually let them know that it's, you know, that these sorts of behaviours aren't okay. So we actually say no one is allowed to look or touch or feel, and no one's allowed, you know, to ask you to do those same things. So that's really important. And then you want your child to know that if anyone does these things, you really want to empower them that they must say no. And one really good tip is to actually, you know, sit down with your child and not only do you explain to them that they have to say no, but it's also giving them other options as to how to say no. So let's say they're feeling uncomfortable, they're in a room with someone and they think something's not right, they may not have the confidence just to shout out a big no and get themselves out of there. So you could say to them, look, in this situation, if you're feeling uncomfortable, it's actually okay if you need to say, I'm really busting, I need to go to the toilet.
Michelle, that's just such invaluable information.
Yeah.
We've actually got a limited number to give away today, so just write to us at hello@thetabletv.com to get your copy. First in, best dressed. Thanks so much for joining us today, and thanks again, Michelle. Ladies, a pleasure. Hit us up on Facebook and we'll see you there. We'll keep the conversation going. Bye for now.